Tyler down here at Emerald City Guitars. Now, it's no real secret that we get our fair share, more than our fair share even, of amazing vintage Martins down here at the shop. But this one might be the most special with the most amazing story as well. Now, this is a 1901 0045. Now, if 1901 sounds pretty early for a 45, you'd be right, because this is, in fact, the first 45 style Martin that was ever built. So the story of this guitar, as you'd expect, starts back in 1901, when a local music teacher in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, actually, named Joseph Youngkin called Martin and ordered a very special guitar. Now, at that time, the 00 was the largest body size that Martin was making with any sort of regularity, and the 42 style was the most ornate. But this guy wanted something even more ornate, so he specified to Martin, in addition to the 42 appointments, he also wanted vine inlay on the fingerboard, some fancier headstock inlay, as well as this mandolin-style inlaid pickguard. Now, Martin built the guitar for him, charged him $100. I think he actually paid $75 because he had a teacher's discount, but in any case, an incredibly expensive guitar. They finished it up, shipped it out to him on Christmas Eve of 1901, and it went in the ledger books as a 0042S. So of course, in this case, the S meant special, just a way to denote the extra level of decoration on that guitar. Now, this Joseph Youngkin guy was a pretty picky player. In 1903, he returned the guitar to Martin for a crack repair, and then returned it again the following year for a new top. Now, the repair records indicate that it went back for a new top for, quote, tone, so whatever that means. But even after the second top, he was not happy with the guitar, and in 1906, he returned this 0042S for a new guitar entirely. Okay, now what I didn't tell you, that back in 1901, when Martin was building this 0042S, they were also building a second guitar alongside it. Now, it was very similar to this 0042S with a couple of notable differences, the most notable of which being that the second guitar had pearl around the sides and around the back. That was not a normal feature on the 42. Now, at that time, a request for something fancier than a 42 was not an unusual thing at Martin. They got them all the time. Now, in building this guitar with the pearl around the sides and the back, what Martin was doing was effectively creating a prototype for a fancier style, the style 45, that was to come. So this whole situation with Youngkin was such a headache for Martin that they decided, rather than build a brand new, presentation grade guitar for Youngkin, they would just take this prototype that they built back in 1901 and ship it out to him. So in 1906, Martin shipped out this 1901 built guitar to Joseph Youngkin, and it was in the ledgers as a 0045, making this undoubtedly the first 45 ever made. No, that could have been that, but again, Joseph Youngkin was a very particular guy, and for whatever reason, he was insistent that this new 0045 had the same serial number as his old 0042S. Now, this is something that Martin did not do, ever. So when he asked Martin to do it, they of course refused. But he was so persistent, would not leave it alone, to where Martin got to a point where they said, okay, fine, we'll stamp you a duplicate serial number for an upcharge of $30. Now, if you remember, the MSRP on the original guitar was $100. So a $30 upcharge for the same serial number it's an insane figure. And I assume what Martin was trying to do was basically turn him off of this idea completely. What actually happened is that he happily paid the $30 and made Martin stamp duplicate serial numbers on both guitars. So there are two 1901 Martins with this same serial number, but of course only this one is a 45. So I wish this was the end of the story for this guitar, I really do, but as I might have mentioned before, this Joseph Youngkin guy was pretty picky. And from 1908 to 1934, this second guitar went back to Martin 3 times for various repair work, the most notable of which being a top replacement in the early 30s. Now, on vintage Martins, top replacement is never ideal, but in this particular case, it does have some advantages. Because this top was made in the early 30s, it was made for steel strings, and you see there's steel strings on it right now. It's plenty strong to handle that, which from a player's point of view, I think is a good thing. And even though features like this real elephant ivory binding and this inlaid mandolin style guard were no longer around in the 30s when this top was made. All this work was done in the original style. It looks perfect. It might have been done by the same people who did it back in 1901. You know, Martin historically has very low turnover for employees. So this guitar has been in the collection of a private museum for decades and decades, and is just now seeing the light of day for the first time in a long time. So we're so thrilled to have it. The guitar just got a fresh neck set and bar refret, so it's playing great, it's structurally totally sound, and ready to go for another 123 years. So we have Skylar Mihal in the shop today. We're gonna hand this over to him, and he'll show you how it sounds.